Okay, I'm jumping into Blender to redo a shot, and I redo shots a lot, don't I? Well, here's why. Basically, folks, here's the shot. I just did it a couple days ago. And all I can say is it's not bad, but I'm not happy with it. And so I want to go ahead and just take the time to rethink it a little bit. Okay, and part of rethinking is redrawing, because time spent drawing is never wasted. Never wasted. Okay. So I really want to think about the acting here. And actually, I should probably save this right now. Let's go ahead and save this and call it the 69 file. Save as Blender 0069. Doo-doo. Okay. So you might ask, well, why are you using Blender? I've been using Krita for quite some time. And the answer is no particular reason. Just I felt like diving back in with Blender 2.8 and saying, well, let's just go ahead and redo a scene. The basic advantage you get with Blender compared to Krita is that you can get keyframe interpolation of tweens of various kinds, and also you can mush everything around with the sculpting tools. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, there is one flaw that I see. So let me get OBS here up on the board, and let's see here. So the reality is that Akari's okay. She's got the knife up. And okay, she's still holding the knife up. Okay, so yeah, we have a problem here anyway. The shot actually doesn't work because she's got the knife on the guys. And uh-oh. Excuse me, folks. Doggone allergy season. Okay, so that shot kind of worked. But yeah, how can this possibly work when she doesn't even, when the guys aren't in the shot, and she doesn't have her knife on them. So the first thing we need to do, and by the way, today there may be a certain amount of relearning here going on for me. Just I'll warn you in advance, because I have not used Blender 2.8 in a bit. Alright, so let's see. Control Shift. Yes, Control Shift. That doesn't quite do what I wanted. What was the hotkey? Nope. Okay, that's kind of handy. The Shift key. I'm saying these things out loud, so you can learn it and I remember. Okay. The Shift key, when you're drawing, actually turns on the stabilizer. And it's not the same stabilizer that is built into the brushes. It's actually the stabilizer that's been built into the Blender UV editing paintbrush engine for a long time. So that's cool. I've always liked that stabilizer. You just hit Shift and all of a sudden the line sort of drags behind. Now, I'm sure the flaw in it is that you have to make sure you finish your line, as you can see what I just did there. So you'd go, and because, now that's interesting. So this is something the developers never would have thought of, understandably, but you can see that because the line that is leading the stabilizer is the same color as the line you're drawing, you actually have no way of knowing when you've gone far enough. So you have to eyeball it, like right there, see I'm off. So that's actually a flaw. Really the stabilizer should definitely be a different color. Definitely should be a different color. Okay, so now let's remember. Okay, I think it's Control Shift. What happens if I hit Control Shift? Okay, it doesn't delete them. Alt gives you a straight line. Shift Alt gives you something really interesting. So Control Alt, I think that's it. Yes, Control plus. So Control lets you erase, and then Control Alt lets you do a rubber band erase, which is great. Very good. Okay, so now obviously I'm drawing her. I'm sitting here talking about it, and I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm giving her this like Amazon musculature thing going on, which is totally goofy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get her hand sort of in the right position here. Okay, now let me look at that. And that's not too bad. There's a rib cage. So I'm going to take this even further. Now, what happens if we hit, okay, if we hit tab, that gives us edit mode. And then we can grab and make adjustments like so. Alright, so I'm going to go control. Okay, so I guess I want to hit control. I want to hit A twice. And I'm going to rotate this way. And then I'm going to actually grab the rest of this and rotate it this way. So she's got a little bit more attitude, I would say. Okay, and now if I hit the tab key, that puts me in object mode. So, okay, so I want to hit Control Tab and go to draw mode. Okay, cool. That works for me, baby. That works for me. Okay, there's her not too overly abundant bosom. Okay, so now if her hand was here, for shortening, blah 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 blah, blade. The blade was actually turned horizontally, so I guess the hilt should be that way. Alright. We need a sniff filter built into OBS. I need to contact the developer of OBS and ask if they can add a sniff filter so that if you ever sniff, it gets automatically filtered out of your video. Wouldn't that be cool? Sniff filter. I want a sniff filter. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm flipping the canvas. Okay, so you might wonder in Blender, how do you flip the canvas? Well, actually what I'm doing is, on your numpad, you can switch views, like top, side, front. Well, if you're in the camera view, there is no way to flip the canvas. But if you go into the front view and then hit the 9 key, it actually flips you from front to back. So you're actually just flipping your point of view behind your character. So functionally speaking, you flip the canvas. So that's what the story is on that. Quite handy. Quite handy indeed. Okay, so now I am quite looking forward to how this is going to turn out, because as I said, I haven't used Blender 2.8 in a while to actually do, animation. And I'm going to hit the tab key, grab this guy, and actually just shrink it a little bit. Now, by the way, if you want proportional editing, just hit the O key, like so. And now you get proportional editing. Generally easier to do with the mouse, because then you can dynamically roll the mouse wheel and change the range of influence. So that's not too bad. And again, Control Tab, back into draw mode. Oops. Sorry, you guys didn't see that. I hit the wrong key and actually opened up the Charms menu in Windows. I wonder who came up with the term Charms. What should we call it? Let's call it Charms. Bob, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. No, 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 no. They'll love it. They'll love it. Because if you call it the Charms bar, it seems like it's magic when they do it. And that's really what we want. We want to make sure that when users use their computer, that they're convinced that whatever's going on is actually magic. Because, you know, the users are so amazingly stupid that they can't understand anything, really. I mean, they're complete Neanderthals. Do I sound a little cynical? That's funny. Alright, there's the hilt to the sword. Okay, so now it seems to me that... Whoops, I did not mean to do that. It seems to me to just simply be in the wrong place. So I'm going to go like this, tab key, lasso these guys. Now I need to make sure I hit the O key so I don't have proportional editing invoked. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with the positioning of this. So rotate, I'm hitting the shift key now so I can really fine tune it. I don't care about this mess here because, you know, let's face it, this is just the pencil test, so it does not matter. Okay. And basically, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, start over. I'm going to start over. So if you wanted to see a beginning to finish, you know, start to finish drawing, animation, whatever, without mistakes, you're going to be disappointed here today because I just made a mistake. Okay, I'm rethinking this plan a bit. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is draw a little football. Why? Because Mr. Big's head is kind of like a football. Kind of. Not a lot like a football, but kind of. But yeah, I'm putting Mr. Big in the picture. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Let's go back here. There's Mr. Big. Yep, I'm going to put him in the picture and then kind of vis-a-vis the rule of thirds. Ish. I'm going to put her here. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a circle for her head. And so what I'm doing here is I'm getting back to sticks and balls. I'm getting back to basics. Okay. I want to keep this stupidly simple, especially because if I'm going to do any animation, which I am, I don't want to be animating complex drawings. What I want to animate is sticks and balls. And if you don't know what I mean by that, then I mean the simplest cartoons possible. Okay, so the issue here, by the way guys, sorry about that. I forgot to switch back. Sorry, my bad. So we actually have to go back a bit of a ways. Okay, yeah, so here, clearly she's really reaching, right? She's really reaching here. So this is not really accurate. So I'm going to hit the control key. And what I want to do is I want to move her shoulder to there. Okay, so this is her left shoulder. And I'm going to go ahead and let her hand be sort of drifted back behind her a bit, and so then we'll see a little bit of her breast there. But see, now I like that better. Now it looks like she's actually leaning into this motion, and you can see that would be her arm, that would be her forearm, that would be her hand, and hilt, blade. Yes, not totally sure. It seems like maybe I'm still making this a bit high. So let's go ahead and put it down a little bit. That feels better, I think. I'm going to go to the front view so I can flip it. Yeah, that does feel better. Okay. So now, fortunately, Blender gives us an infinite canvas. But it's easy to get a lot of messy spaghetti going on here from so much doodling. Okay. But that actually feels pretty good. Okay, so what you're seeing here in terms of contours is bicep, forearms. Okay, so now if she was actually, I'm actually looking at my own hand right now. If I was doing this for real, what I would actually see appears to be something like this. Okay. So these fingers have to come over here like a group, and then the thumb needs to be there. Okay, and then we'll just draw through her to put the hilt in there. Okay. And let's draw a circle here and a circle here. So we're effectively making it a cylinder. Very, very simple design on the sword, obviously. It's really not a sword, it's more of a kind of a long knife. It's really kind of medium size, like a kind of like a machete, I guess you'd say, although it's not a machete. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, I like the respecting the rule of thirds here and putting her head there. I think it's probably well advised. I want to be a little more particular here on the drawing of her ear. Okay, so and that feels pretty good, doesn't it? I think it does. Okay, so now let's be bold to cover up things we've already drawn, because they are not precious, especially when obviously they would be covered up by stuff that is in front of it. Duh. Okay. Okay. Now what if we, yes, what if we did that? What if we gave her more of a, what would you call that? So instead of getting the sort of feminine shape, just really kind of a little bit more of a belly, frankly. Okay. Man, I'm going to save that. Save early, save often. Take a sip of your beverage. Which, holy cow, I still had some coffee left. I did not realize that. I was thinking I was drinking water at this point. Is that right? Wow. That's because I did something unusual today. I drank water for a while and then had coffee later. So that's why I sort of lost track. Okay, that feels pretty good, doesn't it? So, Mr. Big Ears. He's a bit of a caricature. Okay, that feels pretty good to me. So now, the question is simply, where do we go from here in terms of action? One thing Krita does have over Blender, as far as I know, is ripple editing of keyframes. You can grab a keyframe and hit Alt, and any keyframes that are downstream from that one will get moved accordingly. And you really can't do that with Blender. You have to really do the same thing you have to do in the video editor, which is draw a rubber band around it and drag the group. So that means you maybe want to be a little more cognizant of What am I trying to say? I'm thinking about two things at once here. Cognizant of planning out your timing. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do an, I'm going to say this out loud for you guys and for myself so that I'm really defining what I hope to accomplish right now. What I want to do is I want to see her whole body, I think, tilt back a bit, but then straighten up a bit, and the arm drop a bit with the blade kind of losing its verve. Okay, and the reason for that, somebody just sent me a text. Who could that be? That's my son. I sent him, he's been asking me for for recommended, what do I recommend for rock and roll, classic rock and roll albums? That my son is a very accomplished personal trainer in New York City. A leading personal trainer, actually. He's really successful out there doing his thing. And anyway, so he asked me, like, what are some good classic albums to listen to? I think for either, for when he's working out or whatever, right? And so a couple classics that I recommended. Boston's first album obviously has to be on the list. I said Journey Infinity. Okay, I'm going to give this 3 keys. Anyway, so yesterday I said Holy Man by Joe Lynn Turner. Now, I'm guessing he has absolutely no idea who Joe Lynn Turner even is. That's what I would expect. Now, Joe Lynn Turner was the guy that replaced Graham Bonnet in Rainbow. Of course, Bonnet was only there for one album, let's say. After Ronnie James Dio. Okay, so this is, if you don't know what Rainbow is, then Rainbow is the band that Ritchie Blackmore created after Deep Purple. Okay, and for the first 3 Rainbow albums, the singer was Ronnie James Dio, and then Dio and Blackmore, they had a falling out, blah blah blah, and at that point, Graham Bonnet came on for one album, and 2, 3. And then Joe Lynn Turner was the guy who replaced Graham Bonnet. And then he and Blackmore seemed to have a pretty decent relationship, seemed to work well together, yada, yada, yada. And so that was pretty much the definitive final lineup for the band Rainbow. So why do I tell you this? Well, the thing about Joe Lynn Turner, I have tremendous respect for his technique. Okay, so now, by the way, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go here, I'm going to grab these 2, and I'm going to go ahead and where is the, okay, they've changed the hotkey. Let's go interpolate a sequence. Okay, it says it's still Control-Shift-E, so let's try that. There it goes. Okay, so now, having done that, I don't actually want this to be on 1s, so that's a little inconvenient that we've got to manually delete them, but whoop-de-doo. Okay, so I'm going to move this downstream and this downstream. So because again, I specifically wanted this to be on 3s. Okay, not bad. I would say let's take this and modify it a little more. So you can see that the nice thing about Blender is I'm going to actually just do it like that. I know that's sloppy, but you'll see why here in a minute. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm not going to clean this up until I get all the keys in there, because by simply dragging things around, Blender is allowing me to do some really nice keyframe interpolation, as you can see. And as I said, I specifically wanted it to be on 3s, so 8 frames a second. I'm going for that anime aesthetic. So back to Joe Lynn Turner. Joe Lynn Turner, who I believe is pushing 70 years old. I mean, I'm thinking he's about 68 or something. He has done such a good job of not only maintaining his voice, but actually improving with age. He's one of those rare guys that you can just tell. I mean, at least I can. When I listen to his recordings through the 90s and the 2000s, you can tell that this is a guy who really cares about improving, making he's at least this is certainly the impression I get. And I like that. I find that impressive. Now, let's see here. I want to go. Okay, I've got to go. I need to change that hotkey. So the hotkey in Blender is up and down arrows for jumping between keyframes. You know what? I like the keys in OpenTunes, which are the comma and period, for toggling between keys, and so that's why I've actually made those the hotkeys in Krita as well for toggling between keyframes. Okay, so obviously this is pretty winky. So now I can just clean it up. The thing is, if I had done the cleanup first, meaning that there are stroke points that are being deleted, then Blender would not have been able to create the keyframe interpolation. Not sure about the pacing on that. I'm going to delete that one. 1, 2, 3. Let's try that. Okay. Now, alright, I'm going to do a couple things here just by way of testing. I'm going to go into sculpt mode. What is it, the F key? I guess it's the F key. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. Again. Okay, that was stupid. You can see what I did. Okay. I didn't go to the keyframe. I went to a frame in between. Okay. Okay, not so sure about that, but we'll go with it for the moment. Okay, so I'm actually going to rethink what I said, because my sense right now is that I actually want this on 2s. Either get rid of some keys or put it on 2s. Okay, the thing I don't like is this. I don't actually like the dropping of the blade. So I actually think I'm going to do it the opposite way. So let's go into edit mode. And let's turn off proportional editing. And what I'm thinking is to actually, okay, hold on. I need to figure out how to change the size of these orange dots. In Blender 2.79, I knew how to do it. It was right here on the bar, and it's not anymore. So maybe it's under View. Not sure. So if you know how to do that, folks, you let me know. Post a comment, because what I want to do is I want to make the orange highlighting as light as possible so I can tell it's selected, but I don't want this bulbous mass of orange that makes it impossible to see what I'm trying to select. That's the problem. Okay, so now I think I'm going to keep this going, actually. Okay, so now it's okay. Okay, I think I like that better, so I'm going to save that. And now we're going to get back into drawing. Alright, so before we draw too much, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of sculpting. Okay, and I'll grab that. Just delete those strokes. Okay, so let's just check this. Okay, so now one question that does come to mind is onion skins. Probably here. No? Yeah, it's kind of the typical situation I've had many times here on YouTube, which is that I am literally learning in real time. Okay, there's the onion skinning, and visible. So where's the icon? It's up here, isn't it? Yep, there it is. Onion skinning, okay. So now, okay, yeah, that works. That works. That's a pretty well implemented onion skinning. So, as you guys probably know, I am not a huge onion skinning fan. I tend to favor not using it. Okay. It's for me, it really clutters up the viewport. I find it's easier, and I tend to like the results better when I just toggle. I just toggle a lot. Okay, So we have a kind of a classic problem here where it appears that maybe the volume of her head has changed a bit. It feels to me like it's a bit bigger. So I'm going to go like that. That's better, I would say. Okay. All right. Okay, so now I don't like that. It's all happening way too quickly. I like this, but okay. And there's where being on 2s or 3s ostensibly was going to be helpful. The problem is I think there's too much changing in one frame there, so what I'm looking for is for her to put this down, and then and she says, she kind of sighs. What did you do? Is what she says. And that change right there just seems way too dramatic to me. So I'm just going to kill that keyframe. And let's see if we can maybe do a bit of a sculpting approach and just see if it works. Let's try that. Okay, so what I don't like is I'm not feeling her shoulders coming down enough, which part of the reason is, yes, here, okay, so we got to go into sculpt mode. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Okay, so now I'm going to go here and just lower the shoulders here. So we turn this into 2 keyframes. Alright, now is that on 1s or 2s? 1, 2. Okay, that's not bad. Pull this back a little bit. Okay, that'll work. Okay, from a storytelling standpoint, it's starting to feel better. Now what I want to do is I'm going to have a camera move. There's going to be a really strong push here. So what we've got to do, and we've got to get this right, we can't shirk this particular part of it. When she says do, she's going to turn her head. So I've got to get this head turned right. What did you do? Okay, so we're going to put it on 60. Okay, so save this. Okay, so what I mean is I'm zooming in here because ultimately what's going to happen is the camera is going to do a push from here. Well, actually from about 52 to 60, it's going to push right into this area right here. So the turn of the head is going to happen close. So let's just go ahead and put it, let's just go to the front view, forget the camera for now, and now we need to map out what's going to happen. So she's going to turn her head. And I'm timing this in my mind right now. So you can't really see it, but I'm going. I think it's about 1/3 of a second. If we put it on 2s, that means that we're going to have 4 keyframes, 8 frames, obviously. 4 keyframes should be enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to 68, and I'm going to draw the, what did I say? I said control, didn't I? Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the final keyframe. Right? So now what I'm going to do is just toggle between these. That works. Okay, that should work. Okay, here's her neck. So let's put that neckline in there right there. Okay, so that's going to twist around like this. And okay, so now I've got to zoom out and see if the positioning works. Okay, it's not horrible, but it's not quite right either, so that's fine. Let's go into edit mode and just move that forward a little bit. Alright, so back into draw mode. We'll erase that icky noise there. Okay. So let's just see. Okay, I think that'll work. So now what we want to do is zoom way in here so that we can see if indeed it is working in close-up, because this, something like that, is basically what the audience is going to see on this particular shot. And I think what we'll do is we'll kind of have a little fun with her ponytail and let it go ahead and stay. In other words, it's not going to pop out and go back here. It's going to go ahead and be right there in the picture. On her back, staying on her back. So this is not bad, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it. Just make sure I'm maintaining my symmetry. Okay, now that iris does not look like it's looking at the same thing, so that's just a stupid mistake on my part. Let's just fix that. Yep, that looks right. Okay. Alright, so she's got a fairly pointy chin and definitely a square jaw. So let's go back here. So there's the contour of her neck. And so yeah, if I'd left her head where it was, it would have looked really silly. Okay. Okay, not bad. So she's got this. Now one thing she does have, by the way, is those ponytails, pigtails, whatever you want to call them. It's really annoying because I constantly forget about these. I forget to draw them. But there it is. Okay. So now I actually am going to say it's close. Let's go tab key to get this into edit mode. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn proportional editing on. I like that. Now I'm hitting the shift key while I drag to make it so that it's making a real subtle movement. Okay, I think that kind of works. Does that work, folks? If it does, then all we got to do is tween it. So she goes, "What did you do?" Yeah. What did you do? All right. So now, admittedly, we're going to have some latitude. Ah, shoot. Doggone it. We're going to have some latitude on the tweens just because they are going to be on 2s, and so none of these the frames ahead of this are not any of them going to be on the screen very long. So, however, what I'm going to do here, I think, is just save myself a little bit of headache by going duplicate, duplicate, and duplicate. Okay, and actually, let's rethink that. Let's take this one and duplicate that one here. Okay, so now we've got to get, gosh, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's go to our colors, and let's grab this green, and let's just give ourselves some helpers here. Whoops. Okay, I do not want this. I want this color to be there, and I want this to be alpha 0. So this is a sketch brush. Oh, we want stroke in there. I guess I could have just turned the fill off. Duh. Okay. So there's... So in a way, this is almost easier than I'm going to go ahead and kill these, actually. Well, wait, I can't kill them because I need her body in there. So, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's go here. Hello. I guess it's because... That's interesting. Okay, so I just learned something, folks. Yeah. Keyframes are actually, in terms of jumping between them, it turns out that keyframes are not just layer specific, but they're material specific. So in other words, I can use my up and down arrows to jump between keyframes unless I switch to a different color. Okay, well now it's working. Okay, that's weird. A second ago it wasn't. Maybe it was all in my head and I just imagined it. Okay, so now we're going to go X strokes. Yep, just get rid of them. Same situation here. Get rid of them. Okay. And then this frame actually is supposed to be a tween. So therefore, frankly, I should get rid of this as well. Alright. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into draw mode. And this is where I want to indicate that contour. Okay. So I'm just actually holding my stylus above the page. Okay, so you can see there's not much of a change. But it goes from an S this way to a much flatter shape. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify some points on there. And methinks, let's turn onion skinning back on. So, like I said, folks, I'm learning as I go here. Okay, the onion skinning is this it? I believe this is it. Yes. Okay. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm going to go... Okay, so this node right here is what I'm tracking. Okay, so there it is. Okay, this one's wrong. So now that might seem a little silly, but it's actually not too bad of a technique. So now here's this turning point that is actually getting around to here. if the truth be known. Okay, so over 5 frames, we're going from here to here. So there's the path that it's traveling, right? Okay, there it is. So, like I said, what I'm doing, I'm just holding my stylus above the screen so that this is where, you know, when animators talk about arcs, this is kind of what they're talking about. All right, so we've got this 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the line doesn't actually move that much. You can see this isn't going to change too much because it stays anchored. So okay, so here's a concave or convex C, depending on how you want to look at it. So it went from an S to a C. So let's animate that. Straight, straight, C, C. Got it? See what I mean? Okay, that works. So now we've got essentially that. So there's an S that stays an S. It just changes position a little bit. So I'm going to say this actually wants to come over a little bit. Okay. So here's this curve. And that gets wrapped all around and gets replaced by her head. Okay. So now what we want to do is I'm actually going to draw a circle through her skull. There's that same circle, basically. It's really more of a band. Okay, the circle's not going to change position. Again, basically. In other words, this is actually the path that the rotation's occurring on. So now I'm going to jump back to here. I'm going to say, whoa, come on, folks, really? Okay, so there's this line. So we're going from this actually, hold on a second. I'm going to say right around here. Okay, there's the nose, so I think right around here we should have that. Okay, so that works. So we'll put the nose there for that shot. So ear. Fortunately, the ear follows a pretty regular path, so I think I can wing this pretty much. I think I can wing that one. Okay. So we'll see shortly if it worked, right? Okay, so this is essentially a ball. And now there's the ball. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my green color. There's the ball. And there's the ball. So what's weird about it is that it really doesn't change position very much at all, even though it's actually changed orientation completely. So what's really in play here as a matter of fact, is this borderline. That's what's dramatic about it. Okay. Okay. So, okay, there's her eye. So her eye's going to be appearing here. Let's go ahead and go back to our red pencil. All right, let's zoom in. So let's just put the eye, let's position the eye there for kicks and giggles. Okay, so here's her ear. Here's her ear. Again, now the ear's sort of changing orientation, and there it is. Okay, let's deal with this silly thing. Since it's always the bane of my existence, her pigtails are always the bane of my existence. Let's turn the onion skinning off, and we'll zoom out a little bit so we can say, okay, there's the dead blasted pigtail. Okay. So I would say we'll go into tab mode, meaning edit mode. Okay, what just happened? Grab these guys. Okay, now we want to, I'm going to rotate, nope, I need to go period key. And median point, I think, yes. Okay, so I want to do a slight rotation here. And we'll just move that back. And see if it, yes. Okay, so obviously the eye is a little bit of a different shape. So let's go back into draw mode. And ba 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 ba. Not too bad, not too bad. So yeah, I know that this particular key right here is definitely kind of on the ugly side. Not the best drawing I've ever done. But again, it's on the frame, I mean it's on the screen for a grand total of 2 frames. Let's just kind of see what we have here. What did you do? You know what? I think it works. Look at that. It actually works. Okay, I'm going to stop there because honestly, I think I can probably go to ink and paint. And I don't know if I'm up for going ahead and doing ink and paint right at this moment. Before I go, I'm gonna just finish up a couple things here. But yeah, basically, yeah, so this is the part that's a little winky. Let's just, I don't really care about her eye here so much. Again, it's only on the screen for 2 frames. But the question is, what would the actual shape of her head be? I guess it'd be something like that. Okay. So there's the nose indicator, right? Okay. So there's a sigh, and then she slowly says, "What did you do?" All right. I'm going to hit file save. And just because I love you guys, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put the camera move in there. So I'm going to hit tab key. So I'm now in, actually need to be in object mode. I'm going to grab the camera. Okay. And right here at the beginning, did I grab the camera? I did not grab the camera. Where's my camera? Let's just turn this around here. Click. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to insert a location key for the camera. And really this needs to be not on grease pencil but on dope sheet. So there's my key. And then I just need to duplicate it. So I'm just going to go Shift D, go down here to about 52. And I would say I want the camera to stop moving just before she stops moving. Basically so that the two cancel each other out. If everything is, I don't want the camera to stop moving too soon, because then it'll be easier to notice any flaws in her in those in-betweens. Okay, I want to go on the Y. No, I don't. Do I? Yes, I do. Okay. Thank you. And now I want to go. It's a little tricky because of... Okay, so let's just put in a key. And now I should be able to drag these to about there. And she goes, "What did you do?" I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I think that came out better than what I had before. Which you might be wondering, well, what did you have before? Here's what I had before. This is what I had before. It's just choppy. It's just choppy and not really... I just don't feel like I got her character correct, the drawing. So now we will see how ink and paint in Blender goes. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try, as opposed to, you know, what I could do right now is I could take this whole sequence and render it out as an image sequence, bring it into Krita, just delete all the keys that are in between so it doesn't take up, you know, 3 gigabytes of memory for no good reason, and then ink and paint over it. But I'm going to go ahead and try to do this in Blender, so hang in there, folks, for probably a couple more days, and we'll see how this goes. So with that, I will stop, and thanks for watching. I'm guessing maybe some of you are glad that I'm jumping over to Blender instead of Krita for a bit, just because Blender 2.8 is absolutely the flavor of the week, and it is super cool, no doubt about it. And we'll see how far we can get with the Blender grease pencil. Now, one thing I will do is I'm going to put the background image in here, and then when the camera move happens, I'm going to go ahead and probably what I'll do is modify the size of the background image when the camera does its move, in order to get a little bit of a parallax, exaggerated thing going on. In fact, I may even do the Alfred Hitchcock effect, where it looks like you're dollying and zooming in. So you're dollying in while you're zooming out, or vice versa. It gets quite an interesting effect. So anyway, that's it for now. As you guys know, there will be more later, and thanks for watching.